I consider myself to be a pretty self-aware person. I'm constantly thinking about who I am and what I do, and while that sounds like it made me some sort of Jedi Master of Wisdom, it's not always the case. My inner voice sort of resembles the classic angel and devil shoulder scenario. One side is the angel, super insightful, kind of like a therapist who helps you understand your strengths, weaknesses, how others perceive you, and how being neurodivergent affects your life. The other guy? This is the one who shows up at 3 a.m. to remind you that you forgot to return that school book. 8 years ago. Thanks, buddy. Very helpful. Now, I've spent years analyzing my actions, overthinking conversations, and spiraling into existential crisis at 2 a.m. because that's what self-aware people do. Am I right? And that journey, it's a mess. Now, I first got diagnosed in 2016 when I was 10 years old and my family moved from Argentina to Berlin. My new teachers recognized signs that I might be neurodivergent and suggested testing. And lo and behold, at the end of 4th grade, I was diagnosed with both autism and ADHD, a neurodivergent package I like to call my combo pack. Now they have a name for it, it's like ADHD or something. I still think my combo pack is cooler. Now, for some people who tell their story about receiving their diagnosis, it feels like a weight has been lifted from their shoulders, a final piece of a puzzle that made them go, now everything makes sense. I finally had an explanation as to why my behavior was so abnormal. And so, with this new understanding of my condition, the pieces clicked into place. The credits rolled, and I rode into the sunset. I'm completely joking. That did not happen. I was 10. I was more concerned about whether I could beat my cousin's Pokemon with my Pikachu than dissecting my brain chemistry. It wasn't until high school that I became more aware of the autism side of my diagnosis. Things like why social cues feel like a foreign language, why group projects are a nightmare, why I need a solid 48-hour notice before any plans are made or changed, realizing that after talking for about 10 minutes, maybe people weren't as interested in Pokemon as I was. This is part of developing more self-awareness, understanding and recognizing my thoughts, preferences, emotions, behavior, and how it made me different from other people's. But ADHD, I overlooked that part of the diagnosis. I mainly paid attention to the autism side because it was responsible for my social challenges. Somehow, I made it through good with the academic stuff, so I didn't really pay attention to ADHD. And why would I? I mean, in high school, I was a rock star. Picture this. I was top of my class, received awards for my extracurriculars, choral activities, and academic excellence, a scholarship for my hard work, was chair of the senior prom committee, accepted into 8 of the best universities in the world, and sang in one of the most prestigious choirs in Germany. I mean, who would think someone like that had ADHD? It wasn't until college when things started to spiral. Simple tasks that should take me a minute suddenly became impossible. Writing a text message? Impossible. Booking appointments? My arch nemesis. I'm constantly disorganized. And a lot of the time, when it comes to doing homework or writing the script for this TED Talk, for example, I have to sit down and force myself to do these simple tasks. So why is it that after doing all those extracurriculars, plus 10 classes in school, I could barely manage 4 college classes? All that was going through my head was the memory of that high-achieving high schooler and how to get back on that pedestal. I needed to get my act together, work harder, and things would be the same again. I thought for the longest time that this was just me being incompetent or lazy. And this idea just kept on getting reiterated in my mind over and over almost as if I had a little devil on my shoulder, talking in a very loud voice. And then I remembered that I had also been diagnosed with ADHD. What had become a mere side dish before suddenly became the main dish. And along with that came things such as disorganization, attention dysregulation, insomnia, and executive dysfunction, all of which were linked to a lot of the problems I was facing. I felt a bit of relief knowing it wasn't laziness or incompetence, but also why I didn't seem to fit the stereotype of the hyper-organized autistic person. Becoming more self-aware of autism and ADHD has helped me to make adjustments to make my life just a bit easier. For example, I know that it takes me a millennia to do my laundry. So I bought myself a laundry basket so that I don't have to make my roommates wait. But most importantly, becoming more self-aware has helped me let go of some of that negative self-criticism and seek help from my peers, professors, parents, and psychiatrists. However, despite the initial benefits, being too self-aware has a dark side. Being overly self-critical. Now that I know that the way I behave was abnormal, or sometimes I do things wrong or might make people uncomfortable, it hurts in a way that didn't when I didn't have that self-awareness. I often find myself being overly self-critical to the point where I feel almost incapacitated. This is when becoming too self-aware can tip into becoming overly self-conscious. I often find myself replaying past social interactions, hyperfixating on every single little mistake, my actions, what people might think of me. How should I say this? How should I write this text? The executive dysfunction of ADHD also adds an element of learned helplessness. I will buy or prepare a bunch of things for a new hobby or project in mind. Like that time where I bought 3 canvases at the store because I had this masterpiece and vision in my mind and never even made a sketch. Because I'm aware of all the times I didn't succeed, it feels pointless to just try and start new things. It's easy to become trapped in the cycle of self-critical introspection, where delving too deeply into your mind results in a paralyzing awareness that leaves you feeling almost incapacitated. Now here's what I learned. Self-awareness is like a double-edged sword. Used correctly, it can help us to grow, adapt, and understand ourselves. At the same time, we have to be careful not to fall into the trap of being overly self-critical, which can really hurt our self-esteem and drag us down. When we hear our inner voices start to talk, and the devil is yapping very loudly about how we should have done this better, or we should be ashamed of ourselves, ignore him. He's not helping. Take a moment. Listen to the angel on the other side, who will help us find the key. Balance. Using our self-awareness to understand ourselves without falling into self-doubt. And this is true for everyone, but especially for neurodivergent people who often have another layer to their self-awareness. They have to learn how their different brain affects how they function, which often requires a diagnosis. And well, many people think that the diagnosis just bibbity-bobbity-boos into self-awareness like a magic wand. That's not always the case. It takes time to truly get to know oneself. And who knows, that self-awareness that helps us to understand ourselves may even turn outward into general awareness, where everyone has the space to thrive without the weight of judgment. Thank you.